Hey everyone, I'm Devin Norris here with Board Game Co. Previews, and today I have the horror game show from Board Games. This is obviously a prototype, so components and stuff like that are not going to be final. We'll, with the usual disclaimers, have crowdfunding links as needed, and then another final thing in lieu of what you see in front of you, which I'll show you in just a moment with our glorious top-down. This is a darker theme, so just be aware of that when you look into this game, and if it's something that you don't think you'd be fond of, that is okay, but it is a little bit more psychological and visceral, because this is where reality TV shows meets with deranged masterminds like Jigsaw. So imagine a dystopian future where it is okay to have graphic and horrible content on the TV, a la contestants signing up to risk their lives and their sanity in order to be the last one standing, and also the absolute enabling of psychopathic killers that want to also come on the show to be the villains. This really is Saw meets reality TV show, and all of us as players are producers. We are producers who our main goal is to make as much money as we can off of this gory, this violent show that is in front of us. So if I'm going to let you see the board at play here, you've got an arena. Now typically it is a 2x2 arena, and that would be covering it as such, but I have taken that off simply so that I can show you enough of the components in one screen capture. This is a game that will take up to 12 rounds of play. It could end early. Now, it is labeled as a 2 to 3 hour game. In some of the playtesting, well, it's not playtesting. In some of the playing that I did of it with the prototype, we finished games in a faster time than that. So the play time is maybe closer to, I would say, maybe 90 minutes to 2 hours in terms of how you might play and the strategies that you are involved. It also might be a little bit more cat and mouse, or it could be a bloodbath. It just kind of depends on what people are doing here on the board. There's a lot visually that you can see right now, and some of it is not fully covered in the way that it would be. You've got all of these blips that are covering up spots. You've got character standees that are covering up those spots. And then you've got all of the ways that these different sectors combine and connect with each other. But let's take a step back and focus on what your goal is in this game. In the horror game show, you are trying to be the one with the most points at the end. You may have an attachment personally to your contestants, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee you the win if you're the last one standing. It's all about making money. On your board over here, you're going to be tracking several things. You're going to be tracking your fans, but also the money that you accumulate during the game. How do you get money? Okay, how do you get money? If you look over here, these three cards here are end game achievements. Showmaster for the character with the most trophies. Trophies are what you take when you kill someone. Last man standing for the last contestant alive. And the Doomslayer, the one who killed the most hunters. If you're wondering what a hunter is, the contestants are in blue and the hunters over here are in red. They are dangerous characters who usually have an investment in, demonstrating how violent, how crazy they are to anyone in their path, whether it's a contestant or whether it's also a different hunter that is in their way. So, let us break this down. Those are endgame scoring, and then you also have contracts. These contracts are given to you at the beginning of the game. You will have 3 of them. They will be out here on your play area, and you reveal them as soon as they are met, even if you don't get the points until the end of the game. This one says, if a hunter introduced to the player to your right dies during the show, you can reveal this, and at the end of the game, you'll get $4 for that. This one right here says, the contract will be fulfilled if the title of Showmaster is awarded to the contestant on your right. So these two focus on the player to my right, but this one focuses on the player of my left. and awards something as well. And so these all will give points if you're able to meet the criteria. Now, sometimes these contracts are going to contradict each other, and so you have to decide which one is worth it in terms of the most amount of points. You've got end game scoring, you've got beginning of the game objective-based scoring, and then you also have these challenges that are going to be given per round. And then whatever producer, it could be multiple producers around the table, if you've met that requirement by the end of the round, you get a certain amount of dollars. As you do that, you'll track the dollars that you gain on the board here in single value and then values of 10 as you progress, and whoever has the most points at the end of the game, they're going to be the winner. So you've got end game objectives that will allow you to get points or achievements, and then you've got the contracts that give you points that you focus on and will direct some of your strategy while you're playing, and then you have round by round objectives or challenges that if you meet the criteria, you'll be able to score as well. Those are all different ways to score money while you're playing and at the end of the game. And then in addition to that, you're also going to have events. Events are going to create instant or round duration effects that you have to either adapt to, that could be good things that you want to happen, or it could be something that will be difficult. Sometimes in here there is the capacity to control other people's contestants or other people's hunters. Normally that's something you can just do with your own cards, but however, the events are kind of the ways in which you can circumvent the regular rule set along with these cards here. So these intrigue cards, this intrigue deck allows you to do cards that typically can be played either at any time or as specific reactions to other card plays. And this intrigue deck along with the event deck are the two ways in which you can manipulate and create a turbulent environment where the base rule set is bent rather than broken, or in the sake of this game, probably entirely broken, given how manic this setting is. So, you've got contestants, you've got hunters, you've got all the ways that you can score. Ding dong. You've got all the ways that you can score, but let's talk about contestants versus hunters. So, no matter what the player count is, you can play 2 to 4 player. If you're at 2 or 3 or 4 player, you're still using all 12 of the contestants. So that's either going to be 6, 4, or 3, depending on the player count that you have. The contestants, as you can see over here, these ones are in blue, and then you've got your hunters in your red. So your contestants, if I could give you the anatomy of this card, anatomy is probably not the right word to use, seeing as how you might see some viscera and anatomy spread across the arena, but you've got your character here, you have their movement range, you've got the amount of dice that they use during an attack, and you've got their critical hit value when they're rolling dice. You've also got their health, which starts off at maximum and can go down to their to where they die, and then you've also got whether they're able to carry 2 or 1 item in their inventory. You will have these contestants, and at the beginning of the game, you're going to be determining where you want to put them on the board. And the reason why you might want to do that is you can put them and declare them openly and place them, which means everybody knows where they're at, or you can choose to put them out secretly, which means you mix this with all of the other blips in the game setup, which are items, which are usable things, which are traps, which are weapons, and you will put it in the shuffle. So you won't actually know where your own character is, but also no one else will, which means they won't necessarily be able to go after that character. These blips are spread all across the arena. So if you see the arena here, you understand that if you ever move into one of these blips, you have to reveal it. Oh no, this doctor with a crazy long syringe just ran into a trap that would do 3 damage. We would then either negate the health by 3, or with the traps function, you can go ahead and you can make a roll based off of your movement speed, and anything that's 4 or higher, you'll be able to negate a wound. However, if you ever move on a spot and you're trolling along and you move and it is a contestant, you'll immediately place them there and replace their blip with their standee, and that is how you can take someone from a secret position to an open position based off of whether they are there as a standee or whether they are there as their blip. So there is a little bit of intrigue and curiosity and strategy in the decision between whether you're going to put someone boldly there or you're going to try to make sure that they stay down, because fights can be protracted and take multiple actions in order to hopefully kill someone. Or if you end up rolling a lot of dice, you might be able to go ahead and kill someone in one fell swoop if you're lucky enough and if you've planned accordingly. All of these blips create a interaction with the board that is interesting and also tied to a little bit of your card play. So let's talk a little bit about card play in terms of the horror game show. So if we're looking at the board, everybody will start the game with 5 of these basic cards, 5 or 6 of these basic cards. I think it's 6, which means somewhere in there I left one of them out. But you start off with 6 basic cards. You can see that by the color of whatever character you're playing as in the left side at the bottom there. And then as you go ahead and get contestants, you'll fill out your deck. So your deck is going to be larger if you're at a lower player count because you'll have more contestants, and it will be smaller if you're at the highest player count because you'll have fewer. And what you do is you just incorporate these cards, which do several things. They, once again, if I'm going to break down the anatomy of a card, you have several icons. You have a play in the top left, which could also be a pause. Anytime you play a card and it's got a play, cool. You can keep playing cards on your turn. You can play as many cards as you have in hand that you're able to, as long as they continue to have this play symbol. If you ever play a card and it's got a pause on it, you're not able to continue playing. And then also the tops of cards designate what types of characters they can move. If it only shows a blue, this card can only move contestants. Your own, unless some game state is allowing you to move your opponent's contestants. This one that shows the red icon as well, that allows you to move hunters. Again, it moves your own unless you're able to somehow navigate around that barrier and move someone else's. And then there are also cards that only move the hunters as well. You always have the ability to either use a card for its movement, which is also how you activate attacks. If you are here and I move and bump into you, that is going to initiate a fight. However, it's also just basic movement, as well as moving into blips and seeing what's there on the board. Or, instead of moving, you can do it for the actual action of the card. This one allows you to draw 2 intrigue cards and 1 action card, which is from your personal deck that's over here. And then you remove this card from the game because it's a pretty strong move. So you can always do what is physically there. If the person's name is on that card and they're dead, you can't use that card anymore. It will eventually be culled out of your deck, because if you ever draw a card from your deck personally and that contestant is dead, you actually will remove it from play and draw a replacement card. But some of them, even if the contestant isn't the one that you're doing something with, you can still use it unless it specifies that you need that character down in the action of the card. As long as they're alive, you can use it if it is just a generic action. So you've got your regular cards, you've got the cards of the contestants that you start the game with, and then also eventually you can draft hunter cards into your deck if you get these hunters and sign them. You don't start the game with hunters. They are ones that you actually have to sign and then introduce into the arena. It's a 2-part process. This is the media's favorite marker, and it is a very interesting push and pull and also resource spending process. At the beginning of every round, you're going to be drawing up to your hand limit of 5. You're going to be drawing a new challenge. You're going to be revealing a new event. And then once you push to that, you're going to go to the main phase in which you battle for media attention. Whoever has this previously is going to start it. And you actively bid and in turn order discard a increasing number of cards based off of the player in front of you in order to get this marker. So if I had this marker and I wanted to maintain it, maybe I would discard a card to incentivize other people to have to discard more. And then the next player would have to discard 2 cards. And the next player would have to discard 3 cards. And what that does is it means it reduces your actions on that turn because you are getting rid of cards that possibly you could use to move or to activate some other action. But if you get this token, the first thing it allows you to do is sign a hunter. And so you can look from all of the different hunters here who have their own special blips that you can put into play, who are strong and mean and threatening. And you can go ahead and draft one of them to your player area. If you have already got a signed hunter in your play area, either receiving this token or some cards that allow you to do this as well can introduce them and put them at the edge of the arena and bring them into play, which means when you have cards that allow you to activate hunters as well, you can be moving them, and you can also use the scary cards that hunters have in play. There are 12 contestants, there are 8 hunters. Hunters, it does not matter whether they die throughout the game in terms of bringing you to the last contestant alive, because the game ends when you either reach the 12th round or when 1 or 0 contestants remain. Those are the end states for the game. Hunters do not affect that. They are just a very scary and very effective way of culling contestants on the field and scoring you points. You are aiming after money, but fans also factor into play here. This is the other thing that you're tracking on your board. Fans, which you can turn directly into money, into rerolls, into intrigue cards, or into instantly revealing blips, which might give you and other people information. Fans also, they arise or they flock to you whenever you get into fights. When you get into fights, the people that are involved in a fight, their owners get fans. And then also, if you kill a contestant or a hunter, you get fans. So there is this impulse to go around and attack because that increases your fandom, and it also incentivizes you to get trophies. Anytime someone dies, that trophy of that person is placed on the character mat of whoever was the reason for them being deceased. And that is another way to score points at the end of the game. That's pretty much everything you need to know to get started. It is a round-based game in which you are working off of your action deck to play cards in whatever order you can, stopping if you ever play a pause card, and then the goal is to get money. You are a producer for the horror game show, and your goal is to make it as much money as possible, even if it means sacrificing your own contestants, who you can pit against each other, even if it means bringing in some dastardly hunters and breaking up the rhythm and introducing new terrors. And then also, sometimes it's as simple as, having the stupidity of walking into a trap, or maybe it's as cool as finding a chainsaw and then going around and massacring contestants willy-nilly. This is a brutal game. It is a vicious game. It is a game where it's designed to be horror-filled. It is the horror game show. It's a reality TV show where the point of the game is to make money, and you do that from scandalous and sensational material, usually at the adverse effect of everybody involved. So whether you're a contestant, whether you're a hunter, you are just at the whim of the producers, the players around the table, to be fodder for entertainment. Yeah, it's a dark game. It's a grim game. If you like horror titles, this is something that you might want to check out. If you are squeamish, this is probably not the kind of game for you. The theme itself is directly pitted against what you prefer. But if you like the grim, if you like the visceral, if you like horror as a genre, this is right up your alley. And it definitely creates some interesting puzzles in terms of always going after the money. Because if you're not necessarily incentivized about your own contestants, then sometimes you're incentivized about other people's. If you've got contracts that directly relate to a player on your left or a player on your right, it might be in your best interest and in the winning interest of the game to make certain that they're doing well, because that might score you more points than they make. And it might also be the kind of system where your contracts are really competing against each other and you are incentivized to actually create the most like bloodbath on the board and massacre as much as possible to where you're getting the most trophies and you've killed the most hunters, and some of those end game achievements, that's where you're targeting, along with whatever challenges pop up along the way. The interplay of your contracts that you start the game with, the round by round challenges, and then also the end game achievements, that's going to really direct where you are aiming your energies and what kind of a game you're wanting to play. Whether it's cat and mouse and you're trying to survive because that's most valuable to you, or whether you're trying to influence the narration and the plot of the story of what's happening because as a producer you have other means to make money. The events break up the rule structure to give you some different things that you have to focus on. The intrigue deck gives you those really powerful card plays that allow you to intervene either on your turn or somebody else's turn. And then the challenges and the combination of what contestants you have, their strong suits, what hunters you have, and the deck of cards between all of them that you're trying to figure out. That's where the decision space really kind of starts to scale up. This is the horror game show from Board Games, 2 to 4 players. I would say probably 90 minutes. And then once again, remember that everything you've seen here is a prototype. We'll have the links that you need ahead. And at the end of the day, I bid you a bloody adieu. And this is another Board Game Co preview. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye.